What is up, everybody? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to day two of Champions TCG Major Tournament number two, $2,500 top eight coverage. We are bringing you live best of five coverage for day two, and we cannot wait to get started. We saw a amazing round of coverage yesterday, 6 rounds of Swiss. We battled it out into the top eight, and now we are ready to bring you day two of action. This is for all the marbles, and this is going to be a very exciting broadcast with you. I'm your host, Manifestival, joined as always with the Lord himself. Lord, how are you today?
I am good. You're going to have to take over the first couple games, but I will be right back in like 20 minutes, so I'll just let you cover it. I think kicking off right now. Looks like the tournament lobby's going, so yeah,
We see some action already.
I'll
Yep.
be right back.
All right. And in the meantime, we are going to, as always, bring up our chat. Give us a shout out in the chat if everything is going well. Just check in now. Looks like everything's going all right. Looks good. Samurai Genetics, good audio. Tyrant King, thank you very much. All right. Looks like we have some action already started. And we'll be jumping in just a moment.
What was up with your audio?
Audio is good.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we're getting feedback. We're getting comments that the audio is good.
All right, sweet.
Everything looks ready to roll. All right, we'll see you in 20. Lord, thank you. And yeah, this is the $2,500 top eight. We're in the quarterfinals here. And we have an exciting day of coverage to bring you. Going to take a moment to talk a little bit about the heroes. So, yeah, we have some exciting heroes that are a part of today's coverage. We're going to be bringing you Madeline, Queen of Waves. Queen of Waves was a really, breakout deck over the past few weeks. We saw the amazing win rate that it had across standard and on ladder. And this is all buoyed and supported by its innate ability to continually produce the little snail, the steady, which comes down and has the mechanic Tsunami. So Tsunami is able to wipe out some of the opposing champions by targeting one of them with a -3 for the health, as well as giving a -1 to the rest of the field. However, Madeline also has a unique ability of giving a bonus to all of your Tsunamis so that your ordinary -3 becomes a -4. It's very, very effective. It helps buff your champions because you are able to get some damage in, deal an attack to a very powerful champion like a Vilegrub or something like this that has started to run away with the game, and then you can use your steady to come in and sweep things up. So this is a very powerhouse late game strategy that we saw employed to great effect across multiple decks like Oot, and we saw a really powerful deck from Brodnik that employed a very similar strategy. And then we also saw the runaway deck of yesterday's coverage was Daddy Louie. Daddy Louie was employing the Thalys. I think out of all of the pro invitational or the pro major players that we saw, Daddy Louie, who ended up reaching first place, was the only player we saw that employed the Thalys strategy. The Thalys deck, or the Thalys hero, allows you to make a new Fangs, which has that mechanic to curse a opposing champion with -2/-2. That -2/-2, of course, lingers. It sticks around. It's not just simply for a single turn or something like this. That will remain affecting that champion for the foreseeable future. And so in addition to being able to make multiple Fangs, including, there are only 3 mana, so you can make up to 3 each turn. We also see the ability for these Fangs to have the otherworldly effect. So they will also benefit and boost your other dark champions by a single point of health and a single attack for as many Fangs as you have. So the more that you accrue those Fangs, the stronger they become, and the more powerful your curses can become. So you start giving multiple curses one per fang to your opponent's champions, and it's a really effective way to quell the onslaught from your opponent while at the same time presenting a very serious threat of your own. Let's see if we can jump in and find some coverage so we can start you off with some quarterfinals action. Looks like we are watching some ranked play right now in the lobby, so we'll give it a couple minutes as the players are getting ready, getting situated, and being prepared to battle with each other. This is the $2,500 major number 2 for Champions TCG. As always, I'm your host, Manifestable. And if you want to get started playing the game, there's a number of ways that you can get started. But I really recommend just joining the Discord, discord.gg/championstcg. That is a great way to get started. Reach out to me, Manifestable. There's a number of different players and organizers in the Discord, such as Kiki, K1K1, Annie Moon. We're organizing tournaments and we're emphasizing competitive play every day. So it's a great way to get started. Let's just do while we're waiting for the games to kick off, we'll just go through some of our champions here. And let's take a look at the Elemental Warfare champions. Here we see, so just a quick overview, we have some different colors on the borders. These signify the various different rarities that cards are. So the dark gray, this is a common card. We have this silver, which is a rare card, Froskull. We saw this card being used multiple times yesterday in our day 1 coverage. And we also have these gold cards, which stand out as mythic. And as finally, we have these light blue cards, which these are diamond. So these are the 4 tiers of rarity that we have. And then cards can be used either as a card in your deck, or if they have the hero ability, which hero abilities will have a smaller name that's underneath their main name, such as this one, the Wagyu, the Tasty Samurai. They, in addition to being able to be used by the deck, they can also be used as a hero. So all of our players will be employing a hero during this Day 2 coverage, and the heroes give you an additional ability that you can do every turn, regardless of, or sometimes there's a passive ability, but regardless of having the card in your hand, you always have access to the hero's ability. And we saw that this was a huge game changer in terms of the strategy and the deck building, because now not only can you build a comprehensive and cohesive strategy with the cards that you put into your deck, but you can also build around your hero's unique ability. So we saw that being used very well, including some really fun matches yesterday where we saw a Boris Madeline standoff that in games 2 and 3 ended up going down to deck fatigue, where both players were just waiting for the other one to make a move, and Madeline ended up getting the best of that game action. So we'll see if there's any other action where we see a similar result, where both players end up in a kind of standoff and are trying to out card advantage the other player. And in the meantime, just going to check in with our tournament organizer, just see how the game action is going today. I want to give a shout out to our tournament organizer, who is Kiki, some know as K1K1. And it's just a selfless, began as just someone that, played our events every single day, every single weekend. And yeah, so we're getting a 4-minute countdown to start. All right. So while we were waiting for that, let's see if we can dig in and show you a little bit more closely what each player is playing with today. I'll try to pull up some deck lists. Okay, so saying that I'm muted on the stream. All right. Let me just see if I can fix that myself. Checking with our stream right now. Seems like we should be okay. Not muted on Twitch. Okay, so maybe there's another platform where I'm currently muted. I'll check in with our organizer for this. And otherwise, we have a 2-minute countdown for tournament action. Excited to kick things off here. Take a look at the top 8 bracket. It looks like Himuli is subbing out. And we have Camilleri coming in. And I will be pulling up our brackets, or sorry, our matches right now. Let's kick things off right here with an overview of Boss MTG versus Soulkeeper. Soulkeeper, we saw, had a powerful day one, slicing through some really strong players like Brodnik, I believe even taking a game away from Oot. We can see that Boss MTG has Seraph above his profile picture there. That is his champion, and Venometius for Soulkeeper. In a way, they sort of play a similar strategy. Soulkeeper and Venometius is able to generate every turn a card that gives the steal mechanic to Soulkeeper, allowing them to steal a card away from Boss's deck. And, you know, what we talked about yesterday was that the ability to steal a random card from your opponent's deck is always magnified when your opponents are players of the magnitude of Tom the Boss Ross. You know, when you're stealing a card from another pro, you're not just getting a random card from a random player on ladder or something like this where you don't know exactly what that player's strategy is. You know, you're looking at stealing a card that is a supreme, you know, top tier, S tier list card. So really excited to see how that benefits Soulkeeper. We see some really interesting stuff down here in terms of the list that Soulkeeper is playing. So we'll just take a note here that Soulkeeper has this 9-mana Charlene in the deck, as well as 2 Sangers, 2 Gloom Toads, as you know, as well as these Urgoks. Only playing 1 Axe, which is quite notable. But you can see the 2 Fungorths, and you know, we're even playing the Sporefrugs, which can evolve off of the Bofa Tinkertime into these Fungorths. So we're really seeing, as well as a Thomp, you know, we're really seeing a strategy around Soulkeeper of keeping, and even these 2 Tyruks at the top of the list there, keeping the board quite clear, really trying to build a late game strategy, and you know, really leveraging the power of Venometius to do so. Likewise, we are seeing out of Tom the Boss Ross's list, we see some similar strategies. We see 2 Moons, but a little bit more of an aggressive strategy, sleeving up this 1 Runestone. We're seeing the 2 Splora, which no Splora is out of the Venometius list that I could see, but Venometius itself generates the Sploras. So it's one of the benefits that you get from building around Venometius is that you get access to that Splora mechanic without even needing to build it in. You see also, you know, very similar, 2 double Urgok, single Axe, but we're seeing a little bit less of an emphasis on controlling the board with sweepers, but a little bit more of an emphasis with controlling the board with powerful attacks. such as Ankia, such as Galak, such as Sala, and while at the same time ensuring that you can still gas up with the main mechanic of Seraph, which is to generate those business. So similar, we see business in the deck for Soulkeeper and out of the deck for Tom. Of course, you don't need to run business as a card that you draw when you can generate one every turn. But likewise, we see that that same business slot is being occupied by the Splora for Tom. So really interesting to see. I think Tom will likely be the beatdown in this strategy compared to Soulkeeper, looking to probably try to stretch that game out a little bit and be a little bit more of a late game beatdown deck. Now, the one thing about being a late game deck against Tom is that let's jump into the action because we already have games started here. The one thing about being a late game deck against Tom is that you can't card advantage him. Now, although he does skip his turn as one of the mechanics of Seraph, you still get to generate those business and you get to gas back up. So if you're trying to out card advantage him, there's really no way to do that. Now we see Urgot come down. I'm going to check back in with chat. Everything still looks okay. Runestone, question about what that does. Yeah, Runestone equips the ability Retribution. So while he's not playing these wide sweepers that trigger a sweep when they enter, he is playing these more nimble, versions of a sweeper like the Runestone. So it gives him, it equips the sweeping ability to one of his attackers, just further emphasizing the that Tom is a little bit more of an aggressive shell compared to Soulkeeper. I think both of these players have a legit, claim to be a potential finalist. Both players we saw cruise through day one. Their only reason why they're not in a top, first seed or second seed and they're down playing each other as the 4 and the 5 seed is because they drew in at the end just to give themselves a guarantee of making it. And but I think that if their backs were against the wall and they had to play to earn their berth at the end there, I think both players easily could have made it to a first or second seed. Now we see the pass back to Tom. This is on turn 4. He still has Urgot ready to roll and rumble into the red zone. Both players at 72 after a trigger on that equality. We're seeing at the bottom of the screen is Tom the Boss Ross. And the mana that Tom has access to is lit in the indicators above his angel. Those are the blue lights indicate that he has 4 mana at his disposal. I'll go over one, just for those that weren't tuned in for yesterday's action, what these heroes do. So the heroes are to the right of the player's hands from our screen, from our perspective. There, Ankia takes out Zingo. Then we see an attack in for 8, dropping a business using the unique ability of Seraph Angel of Wealth. So if you look in the bottom right corner of the screen, you can see what Seraph, the hero for Tom's deck, does. This allows a passive ability whenever you draw an additional 2 cards, skip your draw step, whenever you draw an additional 2 cards, skip your draw at the start of your turns. So you can see that he gassed up immediately, is a big time card advantage here. And now we see Moon played by Soulkeeper. Moon has this mechanic called Quantum Shift, allowing it to swap itself with the lowest HP card on the enemy field. And in Tom's case, that was the Urgot. So Urgot able to take out that Soulkeeper. Moon. Urgot able to take out that Moon, and then we see Soulkeeper deploy the Pudgy as a follow-up. Now back to Tom Ross here. Tom Ross, of course, just announced today as the second all-time best player in Magic the Gathering history. He is an iconic trading card game player who has pioneered entire deck archetypes. Most popular, he is known for archetyping the entire modern Infect deck, and as well piloting and archetyping the legacy Infect shell. Tom is also known for his Boss Sly red beatdown strategies and has multiple Pro Tour top 8 finishes to his name, as well as just being a really great person, someone who thinks about card games differently than other players. There we just see a pass. That was a very interesting turn there. It seemed like that was a complete pass. He could have at the very least summoned a business. So I wonder if he maybe had experienced some sort of maybe latency or lag or something where he wasn't able to trigger. Let's see if we can tune in to what is going on here. Okay, so it looks like there is the reason why that that took place is that the players there was a bug. So gonna give a update on the live action, and here we go. So apologies for that. We were bringing you a coverage of a game that had been that had departed. All right, so now we see that instead both players are at 60 now. I'm not sure what turn we're in, but we're just jumping in. Tom has 16 cards in hand. You can see that he was able to steal some cards from his opponent's deck with this Splora. Now that we've gone over a little bit about what Seraph does, we can also see that Venomicious, Green with Envy, is the champion being sleeved up by Soul Keeper. And we see that its ability is to summon one Splora. So that was the card that Tom had that just died. It died off of that Zingho. Right away, you know, I'm seeing a lot of cards in Tom's hand, and that makes me very nervous if I'm the Soul Keeper. Famously, someone that can do a lot with very minimal resources. So when you give him this many resources, it can easily spiral out of control. We see a Pudgy on both sides for each opponent. The Pudgy is a 1-mana card, and it just seems a little bit innocuous as only a 1/7. But you can see that as soon as it takes some damage, it does gain 3 attack every time. And so it starts to immediately become a threat. And now it's going to be able to do something like, you know, maybe eat this business, and then it will go from being a 4/5 to a 7/4 or a 7/3. In this case, a 7/4 because it attacked instead the Pudgy. The Nug was able to take the Pudgy out after getting an initial attack in. Down comes Pukey with the Mechanic Greed. And that is a pass back. Now on 6 mana for Tom. Looking down at his hand, he has 19 cards in his hand, so he is roughly the size of his deck, which only has 17 cards in it. So he has approximately half of his deck in his hand right now. It's a business to draw even more cards. Down comes Fungo. One of the nice parts about Tom's shell right here, especially when you have access to this many cards and strategies, you can certainly start to spend all your mana, you know? So if you only had 1 mana, that's when you can start to drop your Pudgies and your other cards like that. When you have 2 mana, you can start to play things like Fungo to give some equality, give yourself a little bit of a life buffer. Now we see the Pudgy from Soul Keeper is all the way up to a 10-2, but was finally taken out by a business. And instead, we see the Splora. So both players really trying to leverage this card advantage engine that they've built in with their hero. But, you know, it looks like Tom's is a little bit more powerful. We see an additional equality, two additional equalities. It's really just trying to play those late, long game strategies and lean into the fact that that at the end of the day, if you go card for card with me, I will win because I have 10 more cards in my hand than you. It's important to keep note that Tom does have only 9 cards, now 8 cards in the deck. So there's going to be a point where you will want to slow down that stream of being able to draw more. The nice part about Seraph is that you will skip your draw. So you don't end up taking the damage that traditional decks do when they try to draw from empty decks. Instead, you're just advantaged to just continually get card advantage off of your opponent and to continually try to steal cards from your opponent's library until hopefully the deck fatigue eventually wears them down. Here we see a Moon taking the Urgok not messing around, going right after that Moon after Gloomtoad wiped the board, and Xingho started things off with an attack on that Ankia to trigger the Light of Aldrich. Now it's a pass back on 9 mana. We have the Lord himself rejoining us. Lord, are you with us? So there's Glinkstein. Glinkstein will steal. And then an additional greed off of business. Tom with 28 cards in his hand. Down comes Splora, so that steals the last card out of Tom's library, and followed up by Twigga. Twigga is unique in that it will harvest you a random lily, so that is quite good, typically. Down comes Galak. Now, Soul Keeper with 7 cards still in his library. Tom, all 28 cards from his library are in his hand. Axe comes down. I'm not sure what Axe is getting here. Twigga, maybe, no, Twigga was killed by the business. So I missed what Axe got, but down comes Fungu, another 2 mana to spend here for Tom. There is a Pukey. So Pukey does try to draw a card, which Tom is not able to draw, so that's where he takes 5. Now a pass back. Seraph gets a smack in for 4. Bofa comes along. That evolves the opposing Sporefrog, I believe, into the Fungort. Wow, that was a very clever play because you evolved your opponent's creature into a sweeper that only swept your opponent's creatures. Quite clever strategy there from Soul Keeper. And again, a lot of times these players is double Zingo, so that's going to steal the remaining cards out of Soul Keeper's deck. So Soul Keeper doesn't have the benefit of being able to fade your own draw like Venomish or like Seraph does. So we're looking at Tom with 27 cards in his hand against Soul Keeper with 7. But now Soul Keeper will start to take deck fatigue while Tom will not. And so Soul Keeper is definitely incentivized to get aggressive here. Pudgy smashes in on Twigga. There we see the Plumper coming down. Just as a beater, it looks like, just as a a beat stick, and then a huge Charlene off of Boss. So I didn't think I saw Charlene out of Soulkeeper's deck. Sorry, out of Tom's deck, but it looks like he did have one. Oh, you know what? No, he didn't have one. He stole the Charlene as one of the cards out of Soulkeeper's deck. Very interesting. Very topsy turvy this game one has been. 6 cards in hand, Soulkeeper. And again, Tom is fading his own deck fatigue. So he is happy to just continually play out, Spore Frogs and other cards. You don't want to overextend into your opponent because, of course, you don't have to actually kill them, as the deck fatigue will eventually wear the Soulkeeper out. And we see that he has 6 in hand, so I'm finding it very difficult to believe that he could come back from this. It seems like the boss's strategy was just to run both decks out of cards as quickly as possible and to avoid taking the damage when you draw from an empty deck. And just as soon as we said that Tom is not looking to overextend into his opponent's board, we see that he does exactly that. So he does get a little bit of a punishment from that with the double Earthquake there off of Thomp and then Sanger, but I don't think he minds too much. He's just looking to close the game out as quickly as possible. There goes Urgot getting the last Sanger. There's 3 cards in Soulkeeper's hand. Tom is at a healthy life total and avoids taking damage at the start of his turn. So we are most likely going to see this game wrap up very quickly. Soulkeeper has 1 turn to kill Tom from 68 life. And then we will be shuffling up for game 2. I'm going to check in with chat meanwhile. The man has his entire deck in his hand. I think it's hard enough to beat Tom the Boss Ross when you have a card parity with the man, let alone when he has 10 times as many cards in his hand as you. Yeah, this is, we didn't really see Seraph getting a lot of play in ladder leading up to this, or it is getting play, but it wasn't, the powerhouse that we're seeing it emerge to be. But that's one of the benefits of these $2,500 weekend major events that we're seeing, that maybe that's partially because players were sandbagging their true strategies around this, wanting to only reveal what their strategies were for the premier competitive standard decks for Elemental Warfare once the big money was on the line. And we're seeing that as we see Tom does get the victory here as his opponent suffers the deck fatigue. And Seraph is sort of like that little, if you remember The Legend of Zelda, where, you die and the little fairy that you captured in your jar, comes along and lifts you back up into and revivifies you. So that's exactly what we're seeing with Tom in that game there. We're seeing that the Seraph, as he's trying to draw from the empty deck, ordinarily would be dying from that, but the Seraph is acting as a fairy, continually giving him that 1 extra life. Now, that doesn't mean that he doesn't take deck fatigue, because he can still play out his own greed cards, and that will force him to draw and will force him to lose. But because that is a decision that he is fully in control of, he doesn't have to do it unless it's necessary. We saw he did play 1 Pukey, but it was only to build out a stable board. It wasn't necessarily necessary for the victory. And we see things kick off here. Start things off with a Splora, followed by a White Lily and a Fuchsia. Fuchsia is the normal the normal, it was previously Cosmic Egg. Down comes Urgot off of that Fuchsia, and now a Galak for 2 mana. This and Boss we're seeing again on the bottom of the screen. This is a best of 5. So a victory here wouldn't be the end of the world, but it does signify that things are starting to heat up for Soulkeeper. He, of course, has more sweepers in his deck. We talked about that at the start of day 2 action today in this $2,500 major event. And we're seeing things like Tyrek come down, but it's just not enough to turn the corner when your opponent is playing cards like Galak with multiple shields as normal, off of Urgot and Splora even. Down comes another Pukey. So Tom, again, twice as many cards as in his opponent's hand as his opponent has. And, you know, I hate to say that it is unfair, but, you know, when you're fighting a player as talented and as skilled and as legendary, I want to dare say, as Tom the Boss Ross, you know, just beating him when you're on an even playing field is difficult enough, let alone if he has twice as many cards to choose from as you, right? Because this is someone who on an even playing field, you know, is a borderline Hall of Famer when it comes to, you know, competitive games like Magic the Gathering, etc. And we're seeing that, you know, he is just, you know, he did a lot of thinking on this. Of course, Venometius is a great hero with the ability to summon that Splora, but just building a good stuff deck and using the Seraph ability to fade the deck fatigue, not just that, but also to ramp and gas up as you are preparing for a showdown. If you have to go card for card with your opponent, this is proving to be an insurmountable advantage. We have the Lord himself joining us. Lord, you with us right now? Not quite yet. We'll wait and see. All right, let's tune in with our chat. Does Greed have stacked triggers for fatigue? Yes. Yes, it does. It's a good question. Yes, he did. K1 talking about how there was a moment when he could have axed an opposing Galak, but he had one in hand, so it would have obliterated his own his own Galak. Very, very, very clever play there. We see Tom stealing out that Spore Frog. And this time, he may not need to go to deck fatigue because it looks like instead he may just be able to just beat down. He is still at a healthy 60. He still has an Ankia, the white with the Light of Aldrich. He has an Urgot on the board, as well as 2 additional powerful beaters in Sporefrog and the Galak. We're getting a barrage of Fox wavy emotes, and we're getting them answered back. Soulkeeper likely not feeling too confident about his chances, and I don't blame him. You know, I want to commend, and, you know, of course, we're only in the quarterfinals. This is only game 2. Down comes a Gloom Toad off of Tom's own Spore Frog, but that's it. Soulkeeper just packs it in. Again, I want to give some credit to Spore Frog because we've seen him multiple times use this evolution off of his own Bofa, not evolving one of his own champions, which you're typically used to seeing, but instead evolving one of his opponent's champions to convert it into a fungal spores. We saw him do that in game 1, and really to great effect. That was very clever gamesmanship there. And in all things equal, if Tom didn't have an additional 12 cards, that could have been something that would have potentially resulted in a game-deciding advantage for Soulkeeper. But instead, you know, it just water off a duck's back. It's water off of the boss's back, because he came to play today. He came to win today. And we're seeing these two opponents that, were odds-on favorites for a potential finals berth. And we're just seeing that it looks like one is just completely unstoppable. Already, right out the gate, we're seeing Galak and Joyti teaming up to build a 8-5, taking down Nefentara. Follows that up with a Galak Toro, getting additional benefits here from Elemental Guard. So all normal cards now have Guard. You see that extends out to Bofa. Huge opportunity there. And these early sweepers that Soulkeeper came that helped Soulkeeper get through day one action through our 6 rounds of Swiss, they are not enough to hold off this onslaught from the boss. Another big beatdown turn there. Soulkeeper down to 52. Down comes Xingho, then comes Nug. This is giving some life boon, but what's the problem with playing equality into Tom is that's the exact mechanic that he wants to play. He wants us to have equality because he has an enormous card advantage engine over you. So the only threat to him is getting underneath him and actually dealing him 60 before his card engine stabilizes. If you're playing cards like equality, yes, it is benefiting you here and there, but at the end of the day, this is really a net advantage for Tom because he is looking to leverage his card engine and go late with you. Down comes Urgok, so you do see a slight window here. If you are Soulkeeper, you can play a moon. There you go. There's the moon. But of course, Urgok takes the moon out. I don't know if you have time to take the moon out. You might need to just leave it there and to just try to crack in on Tom for 8 and just say, hey, you know what? Give you got, I gotta try and win at some point, right? Down comes Urgok from Soulkeeper, but then smashes into the Twigga. So Soulkeeper again, just, he could have gotten 16 damage in against Tom and left him with a Twigga and a moon on board, but instead taking that important 16 damage off of Tom's face and trying to go late with him. I think this is just the wrong strategy at this point. Down comes you get an attack in with the Fungu. Then you see Sporagoo comes out. It does manage to take out Galak. Now look at these double Krakens with Urgok, but remember he faded 16 damage there. Those champions that he killed, those would have died off of that fungal spores. So really, Tom should be at 23 at this point, and the board would be exactly the same if Soulkeeper had been a little bit more aggressive. Instead, he does crack into a diamond Pouchy, so that's very cool to see. Pouchy make his appearance on the battlefield. But look here now, Tom is evolving and drops a Spora. But again, 8-5, you're talking about 21, 25, 28 damage. If he had spent that time attacking him, then Soulkeeper would be presenting lethal on this next attack. Instead, he took 2 turns off attacking Tom's champions with Urgok, and it's just that slight misstep there, which could potentially, because there's a Silva that came down, so there is a provoke on the battlefield. So the math would have changed slightly here. The Silva was ripped off of this Twigga. Down goes the Silva off of this Bofa. I just really don't like this. I think that Soulkeeper is really, he's playing into Tom's strategy. He's just, there you go, the Gloom Toad clears the board out, but at the same time, you have to just ignore your opponent's threats, just try to deal them face. You finally get an additional attack in for 16. Remember, if he had attacked from the get-go with the original 16 that he faded, now Tom would be at 7. It would be 3 different attackers that are all representing lethal on Soul Keeper's board, and he still might have lethal. It's just that it's just going to take an additional 2 turns that maybe it wouldn't have had to take if he'd have gone with a little bit more of an aggressive shell. And it just goes to show you too, because Tom does seem slightly invincible at this point, but it's not invincibility. He is a mortal man. You can take this man down. You just need to, you cannot make a mistake. If Soul Keeper is able to eke a victory out here, look at this. This is going to be an attack for 21. Would drop boss to 2. If there's any rusher, or you even just Bebby. If you have a moon, you steal the Bebby, and you have lethal. No, instead it's a Tiruk. Again, going for the Xingho. He's not going towards the face. He's really letting the boss stick around. And now the boss has 9 mana. He knows his back's against the wall, and he starts up with the Xingho. If you're Soul Keeper, you very much like to see that. That means you have no answer in your hand, and you're trying to steal one off the top of the Soul Keeper library. We know for a fact that Charlene is off the table because that is a 9 mana champion that would already be only castable next turn. So there it is. And Soul Keeper really backs into that victory. I liked his strategy there. I think that he could have spent a little bit more time being aggressive towards Tom, but you see that this is a mortal man. This is not a machine. He is, of course, extremely accomplished. He's extremely talented. He is a Hall of Famer one day, but he is still a machine. The laws of nature still apply to him. He does bleed when you prick him. Let's tune back in. So now we see Soul Keeper has a second game, or sorry, in game 3, Soul Keeper was able to earn his first victory. Tom is up 2 games to 1. I wonder if I was Tom, do I change anything? Do I just run it back?
I'm back.
I think maybe I just run it back. Hey, the Lord himself back with us. Lord, how you doing tonight?
Doing good. Yeah. Yeah, what's
Right.
going on? Boss just 2-0.
2-0 right out the gate, and he just seems invincible. I mean, right out the gate, like this deck strategy that he sleeved up, it seems like it's impossible to beat him. But what we just saw in the most recent match is that he isn't invincible. You actually can take him down, but you need to be aggressive. You know, so we're seeing that Rain made it into the top 8 with a very aggressive shell. And you know, Rain was playing the Satana deck that is just trying to go all in. It's playing things like Otherworldly, etc. It looks like I'm having a slight issue with logging in, so maybe do you have the ability to screen share and get us live following the action? I'm having a tiny bit of a.
Yep.
Wait, are you guys seeing my screen now?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. So maybe it'll end up working. But yeah, Tom, very powerful strategy. He ended up going to deck fatigue with his opponent from 108 life. You almost think that Tom built his deck to beat Boris, like
And Boris?
you know, to make it so that there's no chance that he's losing to Boris. Yeah.
Yeah, he just fatigued his opponent way faster because of the steals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not just that, but also because he doesn't draw at the start of his turn because of his Seraph. So that's a downside of Seraph, that you don't draw at the start of your turn. But Tom turns it into an upside because he just tries to push his opponent to deck fatigue, and he knows that he wins that match due to the fact that, you know, they can't compete with him. They'll actually lose at deck fatigue. Be aggressive. Be aggressive. AGGRESSIVE, aggressive. That's right, Tyrant King. We have looks like we have Mr. Kozik. Mr. Kozik in the chat. Let's go, Mr. Kozik.
Are you able to log in?
For those that don't know, it hasn't logged me in yet. Yeah, still not able to. But Mr. Kozik is a true champion. One of our most ardent supporters. You know, when people like Mr. Kozik have your back in developing a product, building a game, building a community, you know, seeing people that, you know, go to the ends of the earth for you, it's just so awesome. It's so empowering, and
All right, I'm in.
we're so thankful to
I got
have
my
the
screen shared.
community.
I'm in Soul Keeper and Boss.
Okay. All right, great, perfect. Let's get started. So thank you, Mr. Kozak. All right, let's tune in.
Yeah,
What's going on?
25 cards in hand for Boss, 18 for Soul Keeper. Oh wait, he doesn't have Boris. Or are they doing the thing where you can switch the decks?
No, I meant that when I said that I think that he chose Seraph because he wanted to make sure that he beat any Boris deck. You know, he's not playing a Boris deck in the finals, or in the quarterfinals here, but I do think that maybe is why he ended up going with Seraph, because he saw that Boris is really trying to stretch you out and push you into a deck fatigue, and Tom just said, I'm just going to be the best deck in a deck fatigue war, and he is. No, he's playing Venometius, right? Or his opponent is playing Venometius.
Yep.
So Tom is at 49, Soulkeeper at 70. Gloomtoad comes down, but it doesn't deal with Soulkeeper's threats. And Miri's there. Now we've seen Soulkeeper axe the Miri every time. Let's see if he does it this time. Every single time that Tom has played Miri, it's been the immediate recipient of an obliterate. Whether it's axe or whether it's Urgok, it's one of them. But if he's not able to deal with this Miri, it is a big deal. It does give Tom a huge advantage. Tom also is sitting with only 2 cards in hand, so we know that next turn, you know, he is going to eventually have to start shifting into powering out some business frogs to gas himself back up. And that is a good way to deal with Miri. Now, Tom has his own moons, so it's not a dead answer to Miri. But look, Tom cranks out of business to get started, then drops a Splora. So that says to me he has no moon. Even if he did, the Fuchsia came down at the very end of Soulkeeper's turn to protect the Miri, so he would steal the Fuchsia instead. And he had nothing to try to kill that Fuchsia. Instead, just deploys a Pudgy and a Fuchsia of his own. So we're seeing the strategy, the same strategy that Soulkeeper used to get ahead of Tom in Game 3, maybe giving Soulkeeper a chance to even the playing field here. Drops a Silva. So did he evolve the Silva off of his own Fuchsia? That's quite odd. I've never seen anyone do that. Wonder why he did that.
Just for
Maybe
the
he
draw?
just wanted to draw a card.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably it. Yeah, it's just cycling. That's really interesting. I've never seen an egg evolve off another egg. Down comes an axe off of from Tom, then a double Pukey. Tom is gassed back up. Look at the power of Seraph. He had 2 cards 1.5 turns ago. He has 9 now. And his health total is healthy. He's actually in the driver's seat. So Soulkeeper has been leaning into the strategy of a big Fungal Spores turn. So, looks like he gets Pukey off the Urgak. That evolved off of the Silva. And he gets, he obliterates Pukey, which does take both of Tom's Pukeys out. But again, Soulkeeper really focused on keeping Tom's board clear. I think you really need to turn the gas on.
Yeah, I mean, 14,
Start attacking
18.
Face. Sometimes that means even leaving yourself open to a counterattack.
23 damage on board.
We see a Turdy down. Take a look at that. A Turdy in the graveyard. That's pretty cool. Cracked in off of an egg. Down comes Glinkstein. Anytime you're playing a card like Glinkstein, things like that, if I'm Soulkeeper, I'm loving seeing that because, that means that my opponent doesn't have an answer to my card in play. He's trying to set up for an answer later, and maybe that gives me the 1 or 2 turns that I need to try to sneak some damage in. Tom with a Bofa Tinker Time, a Gloom Toad, and a Glinkstein. So that Runestone that just came down, that is Tom's Runestone. It cracks Tom's board clear after a multiple, first a Tirok, then a Fungorth. So that takes care of Tom's champions. But look, now Tom has 9 in hand and 9 mana to use. He gets rid of the Gloom Toad. He can't get rid of Urgok, where that would have obliterated his own Urgok. So he has to target the Gloom Toad, but he's going to leave himself open for Crackback for 9. If you had something like a Tirok right here, you could berserk your own Pudgy.
Yeah.
Okay, down comes Venometius with the ability to steal. Multiple Pudgies now. He's going to get an attack for 8 with Urgok, but he doesn't go face. Again, very, very cautious strategy with Soulkeeper. He continually keeps the board clear. Tom down to 30. Tom is suiting up, the equalities. Like, I think the Nugs.
Yeah, there's a Charlene.
He's not. Yeah, there it is. Huge Charlene turn. It leaves Urgok around. And now you aren't going to be able to out-card advantage Tom from this point forward, I don't think. You really need a Moon, likely. Or a double Moon. No. Double Moon wouldn't even work. But you need something. You need to put the gas on right now. Starts with Explorer, that's going to be too slow. Twigga comes down, harvests the random Lily. He has 0 in library. Look at that. Soulkeeper is at 0. He is already in deck fatigue at this point.
Yep.
This is like Muhammad Ali playing rope-a-dope with George Foreman. He just going, hey, I'm going to let you tire yourself out trying to kill me. And then when you're all tired and you're gassed out and your resources are depleted, that's when I'm going to start to turn the corner on you. And already Soulkeeper taking 10. Then plays Splora, which takes another 15. Because he tried to steal from Tom's empty library. Just now's 20, passing the turn. And Tom, again, Seraph does not skips your draw. So you just fade your own deck fatigue.
Yeah, deck fatigue.
And Tom, we see 11 in hand. Yeah. I'm going to take a moment. This game's almost done. We're going to check in with chat. We see a comment in from Sam Squanch. Sam Squanch, how you doing? Choopy Herney. Hey, Sammy boy. Hey, hey. Yeah, Joopy Herney saying sometimes you have to cycle that egg. Great shout. That is great call. These are the things that I think separate the casual players from the technical players. You understand these nuances of evolving an egg off of another egg to cycle it. Really brilliant stuff. Soulkeeper. Soulkeeper is 8 health away from his tournament being over at this point, and he knows that. I think he's just winding his clock down. Maybe he walked away because maybe he threw his controller. Hopefully his laptop's not broken. Hopefully we could start a GoFundMe for a new laptop for Soulkeeper. He's probably a little bit angry at this point. He rage quit on Tom in the quarterfinals. But hey, you know what? Soulkeeper, you had a great day one, great tournament run. You ran into an immovable force,
Damn, Daddy Louie.
Congratulations.
Rain. What do we
Yeah,
got?
let's jump into another one. So I think Rain, Tom, Ross is going to be a really interesting battle. I don't know if they're in if they would have to meet in the finals or if that's a potential semifinal match, but Rain represents that strategy that Soulkeeper employed in Game 3 that really could go underneath Tom's strategy and really try to burn him out before he even gets to that deck fatigue stage.
Who was the number 1 seed? Was it Daddy Louie?
Daddy Louie, I believe, yeah.
Yeah, Thales.
And then number 2,
Brodnik. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's drop into Brodnik and Oot.
Mm-hmm.
Game 3 of 5.
Yeah, it is single elimination, but this time it is best of 5, Tyrant King.
Mirror match. Madeline versus Madeline.
Yeah, mirror match. It'll be interesting to see. Yeah. Also, both of these players have been playing tournament champions since day one.
Yep. They've had many matches against each other. 50
and
weeks.
Brodnik have gone up against each other many times. Yeah. Yeah, they know each other's ins and outs. There is a Crackopus, so we see that Madeline actually on the battlefield and able to trigger.
Yeah.
And, it doesn't produce the Crack the Roth. That's the dream, right? But it does get you a little bit better than a Tentacutie. It drops you that original Crackopus. Crackopus, one of the cards that came out in the Genesis launch, which was the first ever launch of Champions. A lot of people think that Gen 1 was the first launch, but it actually was the Genesis launch, and it was a free airdrop for those players that were able to sign up for Champions in the alpha stage. And that Crackopus was one of those original Genesis cards with an alternate art signifying the Genesis printing. They're still available for sale on the secondary market, as are all Champions cards. Now we see Crackopus comes back down off of the Madeline, so able to generate even more value, although the Tidorus has the Rising Waters. So the Crackopus does lift the waters for the Tidorus. Tyrant King making a bold prediction here, saying that he thinks that Madeline will win in this matchup. Himuli was not able to participate. Did you hear about this? Himuli ended up bouncing being the one that bounced Double the B out of top 8 contention, but then wasn't able to make through through the event.
Damn. So what?
So he was replaced. He was replaced with the next highest seed, which I thought it was Double the B. So, but tournament organizer K1 called that it was Camilleri, as the site announced. Choopy Herney saying that, yeah, he was awake and he was talking about playing, but that it's 4 a.m. where he's at. Himuli is playing where Himuli's at. So the timing was not perfect for him. So we're sorry to hear that. More in the afternoon for Himuli just a couple months ago, and this time
he didn't willingly step down. He just didn't show up, so he just fell asleep or something, and he's about to wake up and be like, "Fuck."
Yeah. Unfortunately. Well, hopefully everything's okay for Himuli. We are. Give us an update if we can determine that it was just falling asleep. We'd love to know that he's okay. Tidorus taking down the Stubby, then a Moon snatches the Nobbit down, and that is a alternate art Moon. Gorgeous Moon there, full art. Love to see that. Love to see the swag being brought by the players, especially for these big tournament events. There goes Tidorus, up to a 16-4 now.
Didn't kill the Tidorus with that maul.
Yeah, interesting. Maybe he has other plans. Down goes Frosty. That also rises the waters. Then the Ice Cubes crack. That also rises the waters. Then a Steady. That also rises the waters. Cracky for 20. How about that? Brodnik is saying, hey, did you hear that rising waters is good? If not, let me walk you through how it works. Down goes Urgok. So Urgok able to clear out that Tidorus. Did it take a card from Brodnik's hand? Did he have another Tidorus in his hand? Because, of course, Obliterate, the mechanic, does get it from the deck, all decks, including both players and all hands. When it's obliterated, it is completely gone. I think maybe Brodnik had one in hand. Can anyone in chat confirm? Did anyone see that? Down comes Twigga, then comes Icene with Elemental Guard. Icene looks like he's ready to get busy. He gives Elemental Guard, so all other water champions getting the benefit of Guard now. Only one that's not is Twigga. This is game 3, correct?
Game 3, yeah. Do we know the score?
Let me check. I think we should be able to get the score. Okay, so we do see that Camilleri beat Daddy Louie.
Yeah.
Wow. So the top-ranked first seed, Daddy Louie with the Thallus, playing the Fang's otherworldly strategy. He is now out, and he loses to 9th place participant, Camilleri.
Man, Camilleri come in and just win this thing?
Imagine. You get bounced. You don't even have a real clear shot to get into the top 8. But Double the B ends up playing Daddy Louie for when they could have just drawn in. Double the B would have made it. But Daddy fights for first. He bounces Double out of the tournament. Double gets replaced by Himuli. Himuli falls asleep. And Camilleri joins the tournament instead and bounces Daddy Louie. This is what you call karma. All right, so now we see that it is Camilleri against Boss MTG in the semis, and then Brodnik and Oot will play Rain.
There's a
Rain did.
concede.
What's that?
A winner. Brodnick took that one down.
Brodnick took it down. Wow. And so that is 2-1 for Brodnick. We see Boss MTG and Camilleri getting their semifinals match started. Prior to starting the match, in the private chat for the tournament participants, we see Camilleri asking politely for Boss MTG to explain how his angel works. He said, "Can you please explain Seraph's ability to me, please?" I think that's funny. You know, we didn't get a response out of Boss.
No.
Bless you.
Yeah.
Maybe he says, RTFC, read the fucking card. Reading the card explains the card.
No, he explained. He said it steals 3. Boss has some
Okay.
gamesmanship.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. But I also thought it would be, like kind of funny asking your opponent in a tournament where you're playing for serious money, $2,500, to say, "Hey, can you explain to me what your strategy is?" Maybe you should try and figure that out. I'll let you decide. All right, we see that Brodnick is up 2-1 over Oot. The winner will go on to play Rain. So, like we discussed before, if it will be a Rain Boss finals, that will be or a matchup, then that would have to be in the finals. So it would be, because they're not going to be they're on opposite sides of this bracket.
Double Timber Fawns. Oot is got to be running Rising Waters too, as well, right? I don't think he's running the Elemental Guard line, though. Yeah, did you get a chance to pull up the decks? You're muted.
Yes, I got a chance to pull up the decks. I have Oot and Brodnick's list here. Both players are playing 2 whites. So yeah.
2 whites. What about the Elemental Guard, that icy?
2 Icines
for Brodnick.
For Brodnick.
None for
Oot.
Oot.
No Icines for Oot. Both playing 2 stubbies. Both playing 2 moons. It looks like Brodnick is playing, they're both playing 2 Bofas. Oot is playing 2 Xinghos. And I don't think Brodnick is playing those. We also see Noms being sleeved up by Oot, but not by Brodnick. Brodnick, of course, has his art, his avatar art for his Discord handle. That is the old school tournament edition koala. Forget the name of the koala.
Oh yeah, Dury.
Dury from Gen 1.
Oot with the tempo advantage here. Slightly behind on cards. 5 mana, so we're getting into the Rising Waters, Titarus. Are both running Timber Fawns?
Let me pull that up. Yes, both are running both Timber Fawns. So the winner of this will be going on to play Rain, who's playing Satana. And we noticed that Satana is somewhat well matched against Madeline because of the fact that it prevents at least one of the damage from the tsunamis. Both the main target, instead of being 4, it deals 3. And so you get no buff essentially for Madeline. The only thing you get is you get the ability to make a steady every turn, which is still very good, but you don't get the bonus. We see some honks from Brodnik. The chicken.
Yeah, that's in serialized honk as well that he's honking.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Serialized honk emotes from Brodnik. So he honks with some swag.
Yes. Brodnik is one of the most swagged out players.
Yeah. His collection is insane. His cards are just like, they're so beautiful. He has the light avatar, the old school light avatar, Oot rocking the old school water avatar. So these are avatars that are, almost a year old at this point from the early days of Coom. Down comes Froskull, takes out that steady. Just feels so bad to have to Froskull a steady that is just going to come back the next turn, right? It's like when you have to spend a resource to deal with a card that is being manufactured by your opponent's hero. It can be demoralizing. Okay, up to 7 mana now for Brodnik. And we know that this ability of Madeline to create a steady that does cost 5. So if you do that, you do only have 2 mana left. Now you would be able to take something like a Froskull out. And you would also get the steady, but you would be leaving behind the Zingho and the Nibbit. You'd be taking probably a Crackback for 8, and it would leave you only 2 mana left to deal with. Now, that might still be the best option for Brodnik at this point. Brodnik up a game as we're in game 4 here, and that looks like that is what Brodnik is opting for. It's likely going to be, as we said, that Froskull, and then he shrinks the Zingho and the Nibbit, and then there's an additional stubby, clears the board. So yeah, with that 2 remaining mana, he had the stubby. And I think Brodnik looking at his life total at 36 and saying, yes, I would like to keep this stubby to get a little more value out of my Tsunami, but I'm willing to and there you see Oot just plays a steady and passes. So that was a good turn for Brodnik. And likewise, it's another steady followed by a Pudgy. The nice part about Pudgy is that it will start to berserk itself through these steady battles. And it will survive 2 tsunamis as long as it's not the primary target of both. Which even if it is, you think for 1 mana, that's kind of a win anyway, right? If your opponent has to spend 10 mana to kill it. There's Slaba. Oh, wow. Then it's going to be a steady, likely. No, it's a Nobbit instead. So even though that was a good turn, it does feel like maybe it's not. You really want to be aggressive here. You don't want to fall behind. If your opponent's life total was more closer to 20, 18, 16, somewhere around there, definitely feel a little bit better about this matchup if you're looking with the fact that you're down a couple cards at this point. a little bit uphill, facing an uphill battle. Although the one thing is Oot is playing the Zingos, which do steal from the decks of the opponent. So he does have the ability to potentially win in late grinding card advantage fashion. Going to take a second to check in with our chat. Main caster is muted. Are you muted, Miles?
I'm getting a pizza.
Or am I muted?
I get pizza here. That's very hot.
Thank you, Tyrant King. Tyranny, see, Tyranny is not all that bad. Sometimes it really helps out in a pinch. All right, now Elk Antler comes down. Again, we talked about this. Look at that beautiful Elk Antler. That is a full art diamond Elk Antler, diamond border. Beautiful. Frosty, full art Frosty. Gorgeous. So Slava is frozen. I believe the turn is passed back to Oot. We're probably likely on turn 9 in terms of the mana. Didn't double check, but it feels like it's been 2 turns since the last one. Quacka comes down with a great Hydro Blast. This is a one of. Then we see the Giga Quack off of the Bofa. That was huge for Oot. And he even has time to Noms freeze the opposing Quacka, so he can't even Giga Quack back. Really big. There's Urgot. It gets the Giga Quack, of course, but now you cannot Giga Quack yourself if you are Brodnik. What's interesting about the Urgot on Giga Quack, too, is that it doesn't prevent you from Bofa time warping into a new Giga Quack off of an evolved Quacka. There you see Frosty taking out Bofa. That was a massive turn for Brodnik, but he is at a dangerous 22 life. You know that his opponent can, look at this steady. Another full art steady, just absolutely beautiful. Alternate art, he has the blue lily. Did he harvest this blue lily? He must have, right? I don't think he owns one.
Yeah, that was a turn 1 harvest that Brodnik had been holding on to that from.
Yeah. Yeah, really, really huge. And just so happens that you end up with the blue lily, perfectly on theme. It's probably the best one you could ask for because your Madeline buffs your tsunamis. So 0 mana, tsunami your board, that is massive. Start things off with a steady. Oot with 4 in hand. Down comes Nobbit. That's an additional tsunami. And then it's a pass back. And Brodnik now. He's a little spoiled for choice. His opponent is at 60, but he's starting to feel like he's putting the gas pedal down. He has the ability to trade off the Urgot with the Nobbit. Start with a steady on the steady, likely. Shrink the Nobbit down to a 5/5. There it is. And we see Urgot trade off, but it's a pass with 4 mana left. Wow. So that was a strange pass there. I mean, maybe what he sees is, look, I could run an additional champion out here, but I'm expecting my opponent to steady next turn. So why run into it? Why run into the tsunami? Just let my opponent waste their turn bringing a steady out for themselves. But still, you're at 22. You don't have all day to take your opponent down. Here's a Tidorus. I haven't kept up on how many moons have been played by each player. But moon is, when you play a Tidorus, the first thing you think of is you're immediately nervous about your opponent stealing it, because that's how good that card is.
Still 6 mana left, so gotta get something here.
Yeah, believe it or not, Tidorus is just a 3 mana card. There's Urgot, and Urgot taking out the steady. That seems a little weak,
Moon incoming.
but also, you think so? This would be a good time to moon right here. If you're Oot, you wish you had something like a white egg right there, just to give you a little bit of a buffer protection. The thing is, Brodnik has 18 cards in his library, so it's not like we're not, Tom Ross the boss, where he has in his entire deck in his hand in turn 4. So there's a chance that he has Moon as one of those 6 cards, but also there's a 3 out of 4 chance that's not the case.
Looks like
Said it's an Urgok.
Yeah. I think he took that out of his own hand as well.
Yeah. From a steal or something like this?
No, Brodnik obliterated it, and he had one in hand. I think he
yeah. Oot had a Rising Waters or a Tidorus in hand.
No, Brodnik had one in his own hand, I think.
Oh, I see. Yeah, because he had 6 cards, right?
Yeah.
So he made the difficult decision to obliterate a card from his own hand just to get it off the opponent's board.
Yeah.
And that could end up being, when you talk about these grindy mirror matches like we're seeing here, that one, if you had any other card, then that could be the difference between a victory. Just the fact that Oot was able to get an additional card off of his own, off of the Urgok. Tufus comes down. Now we gonna see likely a crack from Urgok.
Ooh.
Oh, it's a Moon. This is huge because this is a crack for 16 and your opponent is now at 6. Almost everything is lethal at this point.
Yeah.
He leaves the Moon alive. Cryos comes down. That's a Blizzard. Moon gets a Kraken. That looks like almost like a
clear
concession. No, it's not. That was a massive clear.
Yeah.
And it needed that 1 damage from Moon
that's it, though.
to do that. Yeah. And there was a double. So he showed him that he had 2 ways.
Yeah.
Actually, it wasn't a double because he was at 6. So he needed just that exact Slava. But really, really powerful. And Oot right there balances the scales.
Yeah.
It's now 2-2. It looks like we have a result from Camilleri versus Boss MTG. Boss did win game 1.
Camilleri just finding out about Seraph.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great time to find out about the card is in the
semifinals.
In the semifinals. Yeah, so we have Boss MTG and we have Seraph up on the screen for you right now. We're going to take a moment while I connect my screen just to make sure that we are bringing you the up-to-date live commentary. We are in the Day 2 finals action. This is the semifinal round for the top 8 for the Champions TCG $2,500 Major Tournament number 2. Day 2, we are following Tom the Boss Ross at the top of the screen. Legendary, Hall of Fame Magic the Gathering player, or likely Hall of Fame player.
Yeah, I just
Camilleri at the bottom of the screen.
I just saw the thing. Yeah, Tom Ross was rated as the number 2 Magic the Gathering player of all time.
Yeah. I mean, when you think of Tom the Boss Ross, you think of players like Paul Rietzel, players that just they didn't follow the trend. They invented their own archetypes. They invented their own strategies. And you said really well that Tom was playing some of these other archetypes that we've seen some of these other pro players playing in our weekend event. And as soon as other players start to play what he figured out, then he changes it. He moves on to another thing because he's always staying one step ahead of what the competition is doing.
Yeah, Perks Alert. Do you know Perks Alert? He is rated as the number 1 player. Austin Bursavich.
Oh, okay. Austin Bursavich. No, I'm not familiar with him.
Yeah, we have a couple Champions players on this list. We've got Ben Stark coming in at number 20.
Yeah, also Hall of Famer, Ben Stark. He famously said that Champions TCG opening packs was better than sex, If you've ever seen that card or that video clip on YouTube, it's hilarious. Having Ben Stark. I mean, what greater, promo can you have for your game than having a Hall of Fame player saying that it's better than sex? I love it. Yeah, Jody Keith. Was he up there? Did he get on the list?
Jody Keith, who's not on the list. Yeah, Jacob Wilson, Jody Keith. I don't know whose list this is or what, but
yeah, Jody Keith, tremendous player. Another one that, pretty much archetypes a lot of his own deck building. He's very famous for that all throughout his life, regardless of the format. He's never playing what the net decks or the meta is playing. He's always coming from an off angle axis, and he is usually very successful with his results. One of the things I've been thinking about is trying to run back Supercharge in some of these decks. Because as you're going to Seraph Supercharge or something like that, right? Like, you build up your hand and then just drop some Supercharge on them. See, that would be, remember when Jody Keith came in and he was starting to, no one was ever drafting the Supercharge cards in the original draft formats, and Jody Keith came along and just everybody was passing him the monkeys, and nobody wanted him, and he ended up with like every monkey in the entire set and just like stomping on people. Yeah. We see Camilleri dropping a Tidris, so
no, this is Oot and Brodnik now, game 5.
Oh, you're showing that game? Okay, sorry, I didn't realize you jumped off. All right, so this is for all the marbles here. We see Brodnik start things off with a steady. Clears the board. Yeah, so maybe talk to me a little bit about how you've seen the game evolve since your, time playing all the way back in, Gen 1 or even before Gen 1. And, what's your thoughts been just in terms of seeing the evolution of this game? I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's in the best state that it's ever been. Obviously prior to the Heroes, there was meta was emerging a lot quicker, and then you were just seeing a lot of similar decks. Prior to Heroes, there was 18, 20 of 35 cards that were going in every deck. It was just a hodgepodge of the boogers and the raised deads and all of that, I guess, in the previous sets. But now, with Heroes, you have to make a lot of, trade-offs and choices. I think, the meta, even currently, we're a month in on Gen 5, and as you're seeing here with all the semifinals and everything, we got some Madeleines, we got Rain with the Satana. Seraph is looking super strong. I'm sure after this tournament we're going to see a lot of Seraphs. We'll shortly release the win percentages with the Heroes and likely drop another patch for some of these lower played Heroes, give them a little buff, and keep it changing. But I think it's super healthy right now, super fun. I think it's we're at the peak right now.
Yeah, it's awesome to see the game evolve out of at a certain point basically all you were doing is just playing Rush Champions. Every deck just had as many Rush Champions jammed in there as possible, and over a year's worth of time, we've just seen so much nuance, so much deck building, so much strategies. And with the release of the Heroes now, it's been awesome to see. We saw Thalas make it in, we saw a multitude of different heroes. And I think nothing could be better for the health of the game than to see that the top 8 wasn't all Madeline, or all this strategy or that strategy, right? It's
Yeah,
a multiplicity.
5 different heroes in the top 8, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, down comes Urgok. Oot taking his time to think this turn through. 7 cards in hand. Down comes Tidorus. Again, I'm always worried about Moon as soon as that one comes down. But that looks like that's going to be a Noms. Tidorus is up to a 6/8 already. Urgok is frozen. No player has really started to get some damage in. Down comes Maul. That might change now, though. The Maul may trade with that Urgok, but not until the next turn. That's a pass back to Brodnik. Brodnik now with 5 in hand. He does have the ability to clear a Maul. Instead, he plays a Quacka, so you get a nice Hydroblast there. That's going to follow up with a Steady. Instead, it's a Blue Lily. But you do clear the Tidorus there. And now a Steady would wipe the board. But of course, he's 1 mana short, but any Tsunami would wipe the board. Or you could just see Brodnik pass back. Maybe he wants to protect that Urgok, though. Tough to say here. Instead, it's an Elk Antler, a full art, beautiful Elk Antler, as we talked about previously. You know, he has some really nice swag cards there, does Brodnik. I love that art. All right, so we see a pass back. Now Steady comes down. That's a big board clear. Almost all. Leaves the Quacka around. Maul takes the Quacka down, but then it's a ship. Steady. It's going to clear the Steady and the Noms. Now you're looking at a Quacka.
Giga Quack
Follows it up.
incoming.
You think so? Yeah. Giga Quack off the evolution. So the Quacka would maybe be able to crack the white, or you could just get in 5. Throughout time, you know, Brodnik was always a player that was playing an offbeat strategy. You know, the fact that he's fallen in and is really playing this value engine with Madeline, Queen of Waves, shows you how powerful of a strategy that is. But Oot, even going back to the very first days as Oot, you know, was undefeated through our first 4 tournaments or something like that, very powerful player. He always favored an aggressive shell. He had, you know, aggression and removal were his keys to victory. And we just saw him start with an attack for 4 there. Seeing some serialized honk emotes coming out of Brodnik there. The white egg cracks into a flamer. Moon takes the Steady out. And this is a Pudgy and a pass back. So a big turn there for Oot. You know, Brodnik was a little bit in danger of starting to turn the corner and getting an advantage, but instead Oot gets lucky with this flamer. Now Maul comes down, Steady clears the board, Kraken for 8. We're seeing some Brodnik, potentially some Brodnik honks. There was on the previous turn.
A pass, a Steady and a pass.
Steady and a pass, and that's not good. You're leaving your opponent with a crack back for 13, dropping you to 35. It's not all she wrote, but it is starting to add up. That those little incremental damage that Oot is getting in is starting to add up here. Oot vying for the opportunity to play Rain. Now we're seeing this Maul steady both at 1. That is going to play right into a big clear on the steadies and get the Maul out. But it will leave a Catfisher and a Timber Fawn around. They will be able to crack in for 7. And of course, the Timber Fawn is, that was huge, because the Timber Fawn is sort of like a a mirror breaker in this match, because if you can force your opponent to target your ice cubes with their steadies, then you have the ability to protect things like an Urgok or like a Tidorus. Even if you can only do that for 1 turn, that still can get some significant damage through. So I would say that was a big turn, maybe the best turn that Brodnik has had in the past 5. So it's a voluntary crack of the steady. You see that it does leave that opposing steady around because of the provoke. You had to target one of those cubes. It does give you a slight protection if you're as Brodnik. Now he gets to keep that steady around and potentially trade off with just a big attack. There's a Tidorus. Then an Icene. And that was a Toofus. That was hugest.
Is Oot running a Toofus?
Uh,
I don't know if he has any Toofus.
Let me check.
Surely he does. Toofus is a difficult card to obtain, though.
No Toofus.
Yeah,
No Toofus for Utsis. Oh,
Yeah.
actually, I'm looking at the wrong one. I was looking at the Boss MTG Soul Keeper slide. So yeah, Soul Keeper has no Toofus. Yeah, we see 1 Toofus for Oot,
Okay.
and we see 2 Toofus for Brodnik.
Yeah. Brodnik has 2 of every card ever made.
Yeah. Yeah, he is a baller. And this is a diamond card, so Toofus is hard to come by. Wasn't it a promo card? Like, when it first launched, couldn't you get a Toofus for free or something?
For boxes, I think there's still some available.
Oh, really?
Yeah, boxes
so-
on IMX or BSV.
Yeah. So for those that are looking for their Toofus and they don't want to go pay the crazy prices on the secondary market, you still have the ability to get them as a box topper. They are limited edition, so I can't say that they'll be there forever, but we do still have some limited edition full art Toofuses available. Comes for free. Urgok comes down. That got the Tidorus, right? Or the Tidorus. Then Froskull gets the Cryos off the board. We're seeing just value. It's just a value chain between each player. Who's gonna? Oh, that was huge. Moon comes down. That's a Kraken. Now Oot. There's a steady.
Yeah.
Toofus takes, and that's Oot's 1 Toofus.
The case Toofus.
We just looked it up. Yeah, the case Toofus. Now this is going to clear off of a single steady, but at least Brodnik's board is gone. So Brodnik not playing into a big tsunami from the opponent, but this is the game changer for Oot. He brought the Zinghos. And it is a game changer in multiple ways. Number 1, it fetches a card out of your opponent's deck. So if you go to Fatigue, it makes you a better Fatigue deck. But also, look at that. Steady as a Zingho as a 5/5 is just outside of Madeline's reach with the Tsunami as a targeted 4 powered attack. So Zingho gets to survive for 1 additional turn, potentially cracks in. It is part of the normal family, unlike Steady and most of the cards that both of these players are playing, which come from the water element. Madeline is pretty hard to get too, right?
Oh,
Madeline
yeah.
is it's not
No.
an easy champion to
Madeline's
come upon.
a crafted diamond.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so very hard.
But Madeline also, wasn't there a free Madeline for doing something like what, or was it an arena promo at one point or something?
There was a Madeline promo. I don't remember what
What it
was
came
for.
with?
Yeah.
If you're in the chat and you remember what the Madeline promo came with, please let us know. It's a, what is it? Is it a full art Madeline?
Yeah, full art promo Madeline, I think.
Yeah. And they're expensive, right? They're like $100 or something.
Yeah.
It was a prize from Rank Top. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so it was a ladder prize. So, yeah, players had to earn that Madeline. if you made it to the top of the ladder in any of the past 3 seasons, you definitely earned it because, you know, you're competing against players like Boss Lebs, like Daddy Louie, like Nola Gold, you know. These players who are grinders.
Yeah, and that was, you know, prior to her being a hero. So, you know, if
Yeah.
they knew that she was a hero, probably would have grinded a little harder for the top 10.
That's what I'm saying. You know, sometimes these players, they don't realize that, oh, this promo that's dropping, it's going to be huge in the next set. You don't necessarily know that.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it adds value to the secondary, you know, because the players that did get them, you know, they just get a little bit of a bonus. Wow, that was huge. Urgot obliterated. I didn't see, was it 2 steadies?
Yep.
Yeah, that was pretty big. Now, of course, Oot is comfortable at going to time here. Bofa comes down as literally just a 5/7. No evolution for either Urgot or Bofa, but it's okay. Just 3 mana 5/7, because basically Brodnik realizes that he can't go to deck fatigue here. He needs to present a clock, and he needs to take Oot out. Oot with those Zinghos, those mirror breakers. He has Brodnik's library a slightly lower, so he is going to suffer the deck fatigue that much faster. It's basically 15 life that Oot has in his back pocket. If they go to, you know, all the way to the library being 0, maybe Brodnik really wants to avoid that.
The Moon, Frosty.
So Boss MTG and Camilleri are moving on to game 3. Both players have a game in the victory
Really?
column. Yeah. So Camilleri was able to, I wonder what he did. What we've identified on stream so far is that one of the best ways to beat Tom in this Seraph shell that he brought is to try to get underneath him. Just try to beat the face as fast as possible. So I wonder if anyone's tuning in to Camilleri and Boss MTG in the chat, let us know, did you see that match and what was the strategy that Camilleri took that got him that victory? Down comes Steady for Oot. It doesn't clear everything, but it is a big turn. Then a Stubby comes down. You know, if you're Oot, running these Steadies and Stubbies out, it's a little bit of a pain in the butt because you know that your opponent is able to clear the Stubby just by targeting the Steady with a Tsunami. But you do get the Timber Fawn to build in with potentially some Ice Cube value. Pudgy is a 7/1 now. You know, the other thing that I could see these Madeline decks doing is playing a couple of those equipments, you know, something like a Lifesteal, or we saw an Infinite Strike combo with a Lifesteal,
Yeah.
you know, and
Well,
you
yeah.
know, those a strategy like that where you play these case one-ofs and then, you know,
I don't think
get
they have
some extra
access
value.
to any of them though. They have Madeline's diary equipment, which is no good.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I don't know what the normal equipment is, if there even is one.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the
What's the
rush.
normal equipment? If
Prob-
you're in the chat, let us
probably
know
the
what's that normal
rush.
equipment. Yeah.
The boots of speed.
Yep. Yeah. That lifesteal rune simi combo. Oh my god. That was incredible. Equipped it onto Ocho, and I think the player that played that still lost anyway, right? They played
Yeah.
like an Ocho that turned, for 4 mana, it turned into like a 30-30 or something,
Yeah.
like just some monster, and just got steamrolled on like within 2 turns.
Obliterated the next turn.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Nobbit down. Nobbit is Madeline herself comes down. Interesting. Okay. So that's really big. That can start to churn out some powerful water attackers. Begins with a Frosticle, then a Steady, clears the board. Brodnik down to 2 cards in hand, 3 in the library. And I feel like Brodnik is starting to feel the grip tighten right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's about fatigued. 2 more turns.
Tufus. Okay, so we get a Glimmer Tard on board.
You love seeing a Glimmer Tard.
Yeah. Imagine if you deal lethal with a Glimmer Tard, how you'd be a legend forever. All right, but it was Bofa into the Tidorus. Now, the Tidorus actually has the ability to potentially... I mean, you only have the 1 card in hand plus the 2 in your deck. So you're really looking at, but if anything can get there, the Tidorus is something that possibly could, because it, but the
Yeah.
Urgok
That was a
waiting
strong
in the
turn.
wings.
Yeah, I think Brodnik was holding that Tidorus for
Yeah.
a while, and then
Yep.
just gets obliterated there.
Now he will be able to attack for 9. And okay. Oot's at 21. Now, Oot is a strong, there's a strong likelihood Oot clears the board this turn, which leaves Brodnik very, very susceptible. But if he can somehow keep a Bofa around or something, there's an Axe. So this is looking like Oot will advance. And for Brodnik, it's a tough way to go out, but in a tremendous tournament here for Brodnik. He has a Timber Fawn. It's not going to do it. And that's an egg. And, the egg, like what you can imagine that it hatches into like a Magmarauder or like a Taurus or something like this, right? Can it still hatch into that?
No, the best it can
No.
go into is a Flume.
Yeah, the Flume, okay. All right.
But still, I mean, he could top deck something,
No, Brodnik is out of cards.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And and Brodnik just attacks the Slaba. I think it's smart, but it is okay. So a Rhoda Spike comes out 2/4.
Yeah, I mean, fatigue never was really a strategy. Now you're
There you
seeing
see
it a
Brodnik.
lot.
Yep, he gets an attack in for 5. Oot still has 1 more turn. Okay, it was a Giga Quack, and that is Xaxes there. Giga Quack for the win. And let's see if there's any update to what's going on with Boss. We do see, I think, that the players, Boss and Camilleri, are out of the most recent game. So I think game 3 is concluded, but I'm not sure what the result of that match was. Shout out to our chat. Shout out to those that are following us on on X, where we are also live and streaming. And shout out to our Discord family, discord.gg/championstcg. If you're new to the game and you want to come check it out, come on in, join our Discord. Talk to myself, Manifestival, the Lord himself, Coom Lord, K1, and Animood. We will get you started with some fresh starter packs.
Looks like we're in between matches here. You want to take a 5-minute break or so before we get into the semifinals here?
All right. Yeah, we'll be back in 5 minutes. Stay tuned, everyone. Welcome back, everyone, to our day 2 coverage of the top 8 of the Champions TCG Major Number 2 $2,500 Pro Tournament, and we have some updates in the standings for you. Boss MTG has advanced over Camilleri to the finals and will await the winner of Oot versus Rain. We are bringing you into the live action. This is game 3, Oot and Rain. Rain is 2 games up over Oot in this matchup.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
let's bring you in. Yeah,
I hate this matchup. Madeline was somebody I tried to run, and everyone was running Satana at the time, and yeah, you just hit, this wall. Like, you have nothing to deal with these elemental guards, and then now Tidorus is slow. You can't summon your steady because you have nothing to target, and yeah, I mean, it's just a tough matchup. So Reigns made quick work on him these first 2 games.
indeed.
We'll see.
Yeah, White Lily is there, so you could target the White Lily. It wouldn't get rid of it, the
Anything.
graphite, but it would be able to, at least deal -2 to the rest of the field.
Well, no, because because he has armor 1, so it doesn't even
That's
take
right.
care of the Flummy.
It's -1.
Yeah.
It doesn't even get rid of the Flummy. You're right. Yeah, so
Yikes.
down comes Satana off the off of that graphite, and wow, just talk about the deck's namesake, Satana, the Fallen One. When it dies, summon 3 Luchis, just a back-breaking card. And now Flamirok evolves off of that Flammy,
Mhm.
and we are seeing potentially the makings for a 3-0 sweep for Rain, pushing him to a finals appearance against Tom the Boss Ross. And these 2 players are well aware of each other's strategies. They compete with each other. They tune lists with each other. They consider each other to be, preeminent.
I
We
mean,
see Tidorus come down. Tidorus is quite large. So, also the ice cubes are sitting there and protecting the Tidorus, at least for the time being. Slava comes down, and that gets rid of the Fire Ya. Now the Elemental Guard is gone. Satana will not be able to attack into the Tidorus. It must attack the Cube, unless there's some way to deal with these Cubes.
yeah, I don't know that he's running any Inferno, so maybe not. Yeah, I mean, a Moon.
Yeah, I have Rain's list here, so let me take a peek at it.
A Moon
Rain is
to get that Inferno
Yeah.
or Satana would be huge if Oot can pull it
Yeah.
off. We'll see what Rain's got here.
Yeah. So Rain is playing 2 Vrooms. He's playing 2 Mole Turtles, so he does have a little bit of
Yeah.
Inferno in there. 2 Phyrons, old staple from back in the day. Wow.
Yeah.
Just a beating, a powerhouse. Satana dies, summons these 6 Luchis. When you play a card, deal X damage. They have Wildfire 2. They are just beat sticks. Steady comes down. Deals with some of what Rain is working with here, but question. You can't target the White Lily. It has Divine Equilibrium. Thank you, Reshi. What about in the chat? What are we thinking? Give us your predictions here. We are in game 3, 2 games to none. Already Rain with the fire deck, giving Oot all he can handle. Normally water takes care of fire, right? Isn't that how it's supposed to work?
Yeah, I mean, if you've got the elemental hero that's got a buff on it, it's not bad. But yeah, now you've got the wildfire hitting face.
Yeah.
Also,
just-
so
Yeah, this is all she wrote. Oot had an excellent run through the tournament, and really tough battle against Brodnik. I mean, this was really fighting for the privilege of getting run over by the steam engine of Rain, because
Yeah.
that was just a stomping.
Yeah, and this is going to be a tough matchup. Boss has been running through this, but yeah, I mean, Inferno is just aggro to the max, so
Yeah, and we are getting some acknowledgement from the boss in here saying that there will be a small break between the semis and the finals match. Those semis did take a lot out of boss, and I'm sure likely Rain feels the same way. So we may have a brief break coming up, and should we just maybe come back and once the action kicks off,
where
we'll
are
have
you, where are
K1
you
let us
seeing the
know.
break at?
In Twitch.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Rain
boss
is
is saying
readied
that
up.
there's a small break.
Okay.
Oh, Rain said he's ready to go.
Yeah, Rain's readied up in the tourney lobby.
Okay. Yeah, maybe they discussed it in this on the side or something. There is also an additional match coming up, as Camilleri will be facing off against Oot for the third and fourth playoff. So for the right for the third place prize in this $2,500 pro tournament finals. And we're going to check in with our TO and just try and get an update. For our players. And we'll have an update for you as well, our viewing audience, just here in a moment. In the meantime, give us a shout if you are in the comments. If you are watching our stream live from X right now, we are streaming. There is a live audience there on X. Love to see X embracing this live streaming content. I think it's great. Blocked in Brazil. Nando, you're in Brazil. Give us a, okay, so we're going to play out the boss is going to split with Rain for first and second prize. They will be playing out the finals for the bragging rights, however. Nando, give us a shout how things are going down in Brazil. I'd love to get some ground perspective. If you're on the, is this a national story? Are people talking about that, and is it escalating? Is it getting out of control? I'd love to hear what some of.
What's going on?
I think that the government in Brazil has decided that X is like a it's like a, I guess, I don't know, it's causing problems in Brazil, so they're outlawing it. So I think it's completely outlawed in Brazil right now. Yeah, and K1 saying same in China. It seems like maybe X is also being outlawed in that region as well. And Russia. Okay, while there's a brief break here between the players, I'm gonna hop off for just a moment. We'll be back in just
All right. We will
a
be
few
right
minutes.
back. Yep.
Welcome back, everyone. My name is Manifestable, your host. I'm here joined with the Lord himself, and we're live bringing you the finals coverage of day 2 for the $2,500 Pro Invitational Major Tournament number 2. And we are bringing you incredible action between Rain and Tom the Boss Ross. Walk us through, what have we seen so far this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, both. I mean, I think Rain was just barely got into the top 8. Boss has had, been dominating from the start. Rain seemed to be one of the only players running a fire deck. Satana seemed to be a good matchup against any of these Madeline heroes. And now I'm interested to see what happens here with in the finals. I mean, I think it's going to be a tough matchup for Boss, but we'll see.
Absolutely. I mean, seeing those Satanas come down off of the Graphites and, evolve into or to die and get the triple Lucci's with the Wildfire 2. I mean, just watching and witnessing that last final match between Rain and Oot, that is extremely frightening. That's gonna win a lot of games. Doesn't matter who you sleeved up or how good you are. But the same from Boss. We see an off kilter strategy. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no draws. That obliterate right there. I think on his eggs, Rain's running four eggs. I think in there. I mean, both these players are just TCG beasts, just not at champions. I mean, Rain dominates at Hearthstone, Parallel. I mean, he's a top player. Boss has been doing this for 30 years, 20 years, dominating. This is a good matchup. But I mean, Boss is out to a good start. Tempo advantage, card advantage. Rain's down to 2 cards. No draws, really. Like, I don't know. Boss looks like he's going to take this one.
Yeah, right away. I mean, yeah, there's not a lot of wasted action.
Yeah, I think
And what we
that
see,
obliterate took out like two or three cards out of his hand.
wow,
Yeah.
yeah, unbelievable. Flami comes down.
No summons also for
Yep.
Satana. Yeah.
And just a huge board
Yikes.
advantage there for Tom. And that is a very quick scoop. All right. And we are going to go right into game 2. First game, GG. Himuli in the chat. How you doing, Himuli? Let us know what's
Humuli,
going on.
dude. No.
Yeah, we were thinking of you today. We know that you made it into the top 8. So hopefully everything's okay and it was nothing serious that prevented you from joining this event. Otherwise, we're excited to see you back in our upcoming weekend events. We host tournaments every single day as well as major events every weekend, and then we have these pro majors at the every couple months or so, where we put up extra prizes. This is a $2,500 pro major event.
Yeah, and the big thing coming up for the majors, there's one more $2,500 major, which will be pro points from a set period of time. But then we have the worlds, which is going to be the big tournament. $10,000, but it's going to be an aggregate of all pro points. Over the whole time we've been doing this. So if you want to qualify for the worlds, you better start stacking those pro points.
Absolutely. Yeah. So pro points that, it's the aggregate across all the seasons. So, we're keeping track of all of that. And after we conclude, this is pro major number 2. We will have a pro major number 3 coming up in a couple months. Follow that with a big Worlds event, and qualifying for the Worlds event is easy. You just have to do really well in our weekend events, in our daily tournaments, etc. And of course, these pro major events, yeah. So get qualified for those events by playing every day, by joining our Discord community, discord.gg/champions TCG. We see another very quick Urgok as well as a Purple Lily down on Tom's side. Rain managing to stave it off a little bit. Tom has 3 mana to work with here. These very fast Urgoks, they can be just so backbreaking.
Yeah, I mean, you're hitting an egg with those, especially with the wildfires, because you're playing those, getting that wildfire hit for 1 mana.
Down comes Moon, so that steals a Flocky, which has that Wildfire 1.
Bofa.
What's interesting is that the armored
Yeah.
that on Fire Champions that Satana provides actually does prevent Flocky from dying. But he does die eventually there, I think, from the Thorner. But really interesting there that Tom realized that his Flocky can just swing for free without threat of dying, and was able to get some card advantage that way.
Yeah, stolen Vroom there.
Wow, Ignisteel, just a staple. This is like, what is this, like 1992? These are some old school cards that we're seeing out of Rain's deck here. Ignisteel, the evolution of Firon, one of the workhorses of the original Gen 2 launch, came out last September. So that's over a year old. The entire game, Champions, is about 1.5 years old, going into its 2nd year next spring, where that's where all the fun's going to be. Okay, so it looks like Rain just packed it up there.
Yeah, quick 2-0, dude. I mean, I was
Quick
wrong.
2-0 for the boss.
Yeah.
And, Seraph was a little bit sandbagged. How about let's reach out to the chat. Chat, how are you feeling? Was Seraph one that you were expecting to see in the top 8? I want to hear from some of the players who were planning, prepping, like Nando, like Kimuli, like K1. Was this a champion that was on your radar as something that you really had to have an answer for? Because from what I can see, yeah, Seraph was a little bit of a sandbagged strategy where the true power of it was potentially being, wasn't being run on ladder because it was being weighted, to reveal for these big pro major events. So whereas Satana, um, was a pretty common strategy. So I think players going into this tournament event, they knew that they had to have a plan for Satana for a very fast fire, ground attack, etc. Um, but Seraph, this strategy that Tom has employed, it's just a little bit off the beaten path. We see from Himuli saying that he beat Rain with Seraph on round 3. So Himuli sleeved up Seraph for this tournament and made it all the way into day 2 with that strategy. Boss thinking how to spend his 2 mana, how to divvy up his attacks. He has that Ankia the White with the Light of Aldrich. The Furia. Furia is a Gen 3 crafted fire elemental. Is that right?
Yep.
Yep, with elemental guard. So the big value that Furia is bringing, it's definitely coming in play during those Madeline matchups when you have you're trying to play around things like Tsunami, and the Furia, helps to protect against the water, the Madeline coming down with the steady flow of steadies. So we see Ankia taking out the Furia. Then we see Bronny taking the Ankia out. And then we follow that up with a Pukey and a Twigga and a pass back to Rain. Bronny takes Pukey down. Then comes Blazebark, cleans up the Twigga after a Flummy comes down. Flummy is kind of like a backup Furia. It's a 2 mana, but also provides that elemental guard. So really extending your defenses across all of your champions, preventing things like Whirlwind, preventing things like curses, tsunamis,
Yeah.
but it doesn't prevent this Runestone.
That's a real life White Lily there.
That is a real live White Lily.
Yep.
No, that one's not, right?
Yeah,
is it? No,
it's not.
No, it's not, because you can tell by the border and by the art. The tournament edition White Lily has a little slightly different art. But this Runestone came down. First of all, this is a diamond, so this is a real live Runestone right there. That is a powerhouse, and you can see that the elemental guard prevents things like Tsunami, but it doesn't prevent this Runestone from equipping and dealing damage when it attacks or gets attacked by the opposing champions. So this is a nice way to work around this elemental guard buff that Rain has here. Rain taking his time to plan this turn out. He's down low on his clock. Starts with an attack. That knocks the Ankia out of commission, brings it back with the Light of Aldrich. Then we rid the Ankia with the Blazebark, followed up with an attack with Flummy. Runestone triggers. Runestone goes to the graveyard, and Fyron comes down, and it looks like Fyron went face. Blue Bebby with Provoke is a 4-mana 5/9. A nice normal Provoke card. That's the one thing. Oh, there we see a Volcanoth. And now we see 2 10-power attackers, Flummy and Fyron. Fyron is going to get that Blue Bebby off the battlefield. Flummy comes down with an attack for 10, and now we see business on the battlefield. Maybe digging for answers here.
Interesting. He didn't kill the white lily first and then do that business.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a quick concession from Tom. He's ready to go to game 4. It is 2-1. Tom over Rain at this moment. We have a we have a comment in here from Himuli saying that he really wishes he was able to make the tournament, but his wife and children have been sick this week and it gave him less sleep for the week. We're really sorry to hear that. Himuli, hopefully they are feeling okay. And we will see you back here for Pro Major Tournament number 3. We are sure of that. You're an excellent competitor. And you're a great ambassador for the game. Everybody was trying to counter Satana, and Seraph counters all of the counters. So that's why Seraph was a good pick. That's a great shout by Nando. Again, really highlighting the way that as the meta unfolds, you can craft a strategy that specifically deals with what your opponents expect you to play. And you can kind of get around them by playing the counter to that strategy. We saw this employed to great effect right now by Boss, as he is currently 2-1 in this best of 5 finals. We also see Miri come down. Boss really emphasizing these retribution cards. We didn't see them played that much across the other days. Day 1 in the Swiss rounds. We do see Riz on the battlefield for Rain. Rain has Riz. That's what all the girls told us, that Rain has Riz right now. Cracks into the Miri. Then Rizma evolves off of Riz. With Wildfire 2, that takes the Bebby out. I think Rain was hoping to take the Miri out there, but Bebby is the Wildfire. That is, of course, a random trigger, so you can't direct it. Rain now with Vroom. Vroom takes out Miri, and it does trigger Retribution, but now Moon comes down. Vroom takes out Miri. Moon comes down and steals Rizma. Rizma gets an attack in for 7. Fyron down, cracking into that Rizma. Now we see 1 damage swinging in from that Moon. Pudgy, a 1/7, evolves into Plumper. Plumper is vanilla. That is just vanilla 7/9 there. He looks like the Michelin Man or something like that, right? Like, he looks like the Stay Puffed Marshmallow monster from Ghostbusters.
Yep.
So Boss is staying puffed right now. Rain is a little bit of smoke and no fire, but down comes Flocky. That hits Bofa for 1. Then Riz comes down. Wildfire 2 both get Bofa. Down to a 5/4. Plumper sitting around. Plumper has Riz too. Would you agree? Look at Plumper. Go over that art real quick.
Yeah.
He's kind of just chilling, right? Like, Plumper's like, he wants to Netflix and chill, I think.
Yeah.
You know?
Completely unbothered, just chilling.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, he's like the dog, like, this is fine. All of the flames, Vroom, Riz, Flocky, there are flames all around him. Plumper's just like the dog, like, nah, this is fine.
A little smile
feeling
on his
plump.
face. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He looks like Gemini's dad. I'm gonna go out and call it. You know, like Gemini is the bastard of Plumper. I'm pretty sure. See, like he's got like the Gemini gems around him and stuff like that. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gemini. See, like he's part of the family, Plumper's family, but Plumper doesn't acknowledge him.
No.
He's like, no, he's not part of my evolution line. Down comes Silva. Okay, passes back. Plane of lava for Rain. It's awesome to see these otherworldly cards really being employed. They've been around for, better part of a year and a half, and really they haven't had much tournament success. But obviously, Satanic came along and changed that. They're in the finals of the $2,500 Champions Pro Major number 2. Explorer comes down. That will steal a card. So Rain, only 21 in library now. 3 mana left for the boss to carve out a plan. Flummy comes down. And that Flummy was stolen, obviously, off of that Splora. Follows it up with a Fuchsia. But again, that Satana ability extends Armored 1 to all fire champions, regardless of who controls them. So that Flummy is extra valuable. Saberbane, also another OG card. I think Saberbane was one of the Genesis cards as well.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but okay. Down comes a second Plane of Lava. This makes that Vroom a giant 11/11. Rain really making the case here to push for a game 5. That is a big combustion from Flockerness. That was also stolen from Rain. Of course, no Flockerness is suited up for boss today with his Seraph,
Did he
Angel of Wealth.
attack with the Vroom and... Oh, okay, shit. What just happened? The game lagged. Okay.
Yeah, I think he was able to carve out some beaters here with his steel effects. Now he has his own Infernus, so his fire champions are getting that otherworldly buff. His Tom Ross's Infernus is Japanese, showing off the swag that he stole from Rain. Wow, Flocurnus takes down the Plane of Lava. It brings those Blaze Barks, those Flummies, those Furias back into their reggae stats. Then we see a Kraken on the Blaze Bark by the Splora. Flummy's still hanging around, but
Yeah.
this Infernus just outside of its reach. Instead, it takes out the Runestone to pave the way for a big Mole Turtle, and that Mole Turtle finally does take that Infernus off the battlefield. We see more stealing from Tom
Yeah.
with the Glinkstein.
It's over. Not enough draw
Yeah.
once you burn through your
Yeah,
hand.
Rain has one card in hand, and Seraph, we know, can churn out card advantage. That's the whole point of running that deck. So Flami comes down, and it whiffs.
So that means it hit for what, 1?
I think it must have whiffed off of the Flummy.
Yeah, it hit for 1. So
Oh, there's Satana. So if there's any card that can get Rain out of this, that Satana is pretty huge, because you can sometimes just, even if you kill it, it summons those Luchis,
yeah, that's
and you
it.
can just go face. But looks like that is it.
Tom
he
the Boss
beat
Ross, the
Rain
champion.
with a fire attack, a massive fire attack out of the light deck. Stolen, of course, was the path to victory for Tom the Boss Ross, who was our finalist in our Pro Invitational, our $10,000 Pro Invitational, and now he is our winner in our Pro Major number 2. Congratulations to a champion, a true champion, Tom the Boss Ross.
Yeah, congrats, Tom the Boss Ross. I mean, like Nando said, everyone, that's what makes him one of the best trading card game players on the planet, dude. I mean, you're trying to build these decks. What's everybody going? And he's just thinking one step ahead, like knowing what's about to happen, and came with this Seraph strategy. There was multiple Seraphs in the tournament, and Tom's is just, better. I mean, he leads the way in all of these. I mean, I've been moving the last, week or two, so I've kind of been out of it, but I watched since the Heroes started. Tom just leads the way on changing this meta. As soon as one thing is broken or not working, it's like, well, let's just wait for, the boss to get on it, and he'll, figure out the solution. And yeah, I mean, it showed here in this tournament, man. I mean, his Seraph was better than everyone else's Seraphs. It's these details within the deck. It's not just, throw the steals in there. I think you were talking about it yesterday. It's exactly how his deck is constructed to take the most advantage of Seraph. Seraph isn't good enough just on its own. Like, you can just throw in a bunch of cards. Like, it is well thought out, and I mean, yeah, reigns supreme.
Yeah, absolutely. And we saw Tom really shift gears throughout the tournament. Again, he had a plan to go late against multiple different decks. He also had a plan to be down and to be the aggressor in multiple different decks. And it was his experience as a, card game player, knowing when he needed to shift gears as well. Some of the strategies of bringing those retribution cards where, we even saw it in this finals where Rain had multiple elemental guards so that you couldn't use some of these, other sweepers that, that target, like we saw in the Madeline matchup, whereas Tom was able to sort of work around those and, really lean into creative deck building strategy to get him across the finish line, basically no matter what it took to do that. So big time congratulations to Tom for this very well deserved finish. And as well, Rain, a truly tremendous player. I think that these players have the utmost respect for each other. I've heard that stated on multiple occasions, and I know that they do. Maybe they didn't for this event. I don't know for sure, but oftentimes do consult each other when it comes to deck building strategies. But yeah, I felt like the Seraph strategy was a little bit sandbagged. It was a little bit under the radar. And we saw it employed to great effect today by Tom. Shout out from Tom. He's saying Rain is the GOAT, and I am just trying to catch up. Yeah, we want to give a huge acknowledgement to Rain, who it's not just the single performances that make Rain such a triumphant player, but it is the consistency, and it's really across multiple different formats, across draft, limited formats. It's across standard. It's in legacy. It's in made up formats where we're playing required elements, and we're playing blitz and things like this. And you really see that the measure of a man. In terms of their their just will to win. And there's no greater example. Rain is an excellent ambassador for the game and had a truly tremendous tournament. And I also want to say that he really threw me for a loop because we saw him pick up an early loss in day one, and it was unclear whether to see Rain pick up early losses like that. It's very seldom that you see that, and it was unclear for us in day one. Maybe was he on the wrong deck choice? Did everyone else zig when Rain zagged? But I think it was clear that Rain had an excellent deck choice, and it was obviously showed by the fact that he made it all the way to this finals matchup.
Yeah, I mean, thanks everybody for participating. I mean, the game just keeps growing and getting better, and appreciate everybody grinding the pro points and being with us up until this point. Yeah, some big things happening for us going forward. I'll share a little bit of it on stream, but our print materials have finally came in. So, you know, everyone that's kind of gotten us to this point on the digital side, we appreciate it. The next big move for Champions here is getting into these physical stores and, you know, bringing this game to a whole, you know, new player base outside of crypto, outside of digital, where, you know, since the beginning, you and I have been on these spaces and always talking about how do we break into these physical stores. And, you know, right from Gen 1 we were in there talking and getting feedback on how exactly to do this, and it's kind of, you know, been a year and a half in the making to get to this point. And yeah, I mean, we've got our physical cards available or printed now to go into these shops. So we have some gift, you know, I guess my camera's messed up, but we've got our
Yeah,
gift
maybe
cards
maybe
printed.
click off that yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
We've got our gift
So we can
cards
see 'em.
printed here as seen in PC Gamer magazine. So these are physical cards here. Hangers, the card themselves comes off, has a code on the back that can be scratched and redeemed and credit these packs, you know, right to your account. These are all purchased in the store. No need to get online, do anything on our site. You can buy them in the store. We have these displays that will be right next to the registers in these kind of stores. You know, with we have guide booklets that players can take for free, just pulling them right out of here. And then we also have free starter packs for people. And yeah, this is kind of like the next big move to us. So, you know, everybody keep the queues, you know, active. That's going to be the big thing when these new players start coming in and trying out the game, is they're going to hop on and, you know, start figuring out how to play. So it's been a, you know, grind to get to this point. And yeah, we're excited for the future. And thank you for everybody who's, you know, supported us and, you know, bought cards. All of, you know, we say it all the time, but, you know, a lot of our competitors and things have, you know, huge budgets and funding, and all of ours has just been sourced, you know, straight from the community. Everything you guys are, you know, purchasing these packs, we're trying to give it back into tournament prizes. And, you know, we, you know, built this company with those funds and got all of these things printed and assets. And yeah, I mean, we're hoping this is just the beginning. And yeah, thank you everyone for being along this ride with us. And yeah, what do you got,
Yeah,
bro?
I 100% agree. I mean, that is the you know the raison d'être for us is just, you know, we're card game players. We think that a business that is as successful as Magic the Gathering, that's as successful as Hearthstone, they can do more for their community. We're just a small game, but but we're putting our pedal to the metal, and we're trying to give as much back to the community. For us, this is really about growing our player base. So yeah, if you can you unpack that that game guide so we can see? But yeah, this is one of the strategies. Is that yeah, these are for free. They're available for free. We're printing 10,000 of these. They just show you how to play the game, you know. But then when you unfold the entire game guide all the way out, you get a free giant poster of, you know, one of our champions. And, you know, these are things that, you know, we think that is the way that we're going to build a player base out of these local game stores. The big thing is that our packs of cards, you know, like our bundles, they're like kind of the equivalent of a fat pack that you would get out of Magic or something like that. You know, a majority of those funds that the players are purchasing, those are going to be going to the store. So we're going to be, you know, training our store, you know, leaders in terms of how to sell the product, how to you know, turn their local players onto this. And we're really trying to build a movement. We're trying to, you know, get outside of the lanes of traffic that traditional gamers are going down when they're trying to broaden their player base. And we're just going directly to the heart. We're going directly to the gamers, directly to the pros, directly to the stores. And we think that we can build this into basically an unstoppable movement. You know, when people see what this game is really all about, that it's really about bringing the prizes back to the players, using those to expand the reach globally. I mean, it's such an honor for us to say, that our game, we have Japanese champions, we have Argentina is a big, a source of our gaming community, all over, Brazil, Nando down there in Brazil. We have, in Portugal, we have an entire blockchain house that offers free stays in Portugal on a beachfront property if you're a member of our community. So it's these types of things that are just, it's not something that we're asking for, that we're planning, but this is just people that are coming out in support of us, and we're just trying to continue to do honor to that, and to continue to try to grow the game. I'm really excited to announce that our next pro major, this was pro major number 2, our next pro major is only a couple months away. You can qualify for that event by grinding in our daily tournaments, by grinding in our weekend majors that are $500 prizes, where we continually put out new tournament cards, tournament edition specialty cards, etc. And those rewards that you're earning in those grinding, then those translate to these big stages where we just saw Tom the Boss Ross, iconic, legendary Magic the Gathering player, take the tournament down with a very unique build, very unique strategy, and we're just going to continue to iterate
Yeah.
and grow this game.
Yeah, and just like where we've came from, everything. I mean, it was just four of us that started, a project, didn't even have the game built, didn't, have a ton of direction. It was just kind of this vision and dream of getting to this point. I mean, even our, look at our coverage of it and this overlay, and, it's just, we didn't know people. Like, shout out, to all the people, not just the players. I mean, we've got Magic legends, Tom and Jody, Ben Stark playing, Jacob Wilson, all of these great players. I mean, Brodnick, Oot, these people that have been playing since, weekend tournament number 1. And they're still with us 56 weeks later. At K1, Annie Moon, this kind of team that we've built, Reshi, shout out Reshi, K1, Annie Moon. I mean, we're trying to take this game to the next level, and just the people from the community that started out as players and then have these skill sets. I mean, we wouldn't be able to do any of this. I mean, it inspires us when people are so passionate about our game that they're willing to offer help and do these things, and it frees us up, like I have an obligation. Like, you guys are willing to spend, your time and effort doing this stuff, that we want to make this as big as possible, and keep this thing going. So just, shout out everybody that's been a part of this since the beginning, and thank you guys so much for all of the help. And just know we're out here grinding, trying to put this thing, on a world stage. I mean, we're already worldwide, but we're still a small fish, but I mean, our stuff looks good. I mean, there's not a huge drop off from Magic and Hearthstone and all of these things to Champions of Otherworldly Magic. Like, we're gonna look good inside these game stores, and I mean, this is like the big moment for the project. I mean, you can get stuck in this kind of crypto world and digital world, and that can only take you so far. But the real gamers, something that crypto projects have struggled with for a long time. It's like breaking out of the crypto side of it and like getting looked at as like a real game. And I think we have the chance to do that, maybe be the first one. So, over the next coming weeks, and, hopefully by major number 3, we're seeing a lot of traction with all of this stuff that we're doing. And yeah, I can't say thank you enough, again, to Annie Moon, K1, Reshi, the players. I mean, I know I'm missing obviously the founding team, Maza and Sam, everybody. I mean, working with Hand Cash. I mean, there's just so many things that have came together to bring it to this port, and I just, couldn't be happier. And just know I'm out here grinding, and Brett and I are like, this week we'll give you guys some updates in the Discord, but we're going to be in these shops, and we'll continuously update you guys on how that's going. And thanks so much for showing up to the tournament and showing up for our broadcasts, and yeah, just being a part of all this and all the feedback. And as we grow, it just there's a lot of feedback and things, and sometimes we're not as quick to do it as we once were 6 months ago, but there's just so many moving parts. And we've got people filling in these gaps. I mean, not just I'm missing people like Grimnot, coming out with these Grimnot and Tom, these
Set reviews.
yeah, set
Those
release,
are
set
awesome.
reviews. I mean, going into set 5, just like looking how much this has changed and how much more legit the game has gotten at set 5. And we just want to keep snowballing that in, and we're at a great spot. And yeah, just thank you guys so much. And yeah, I mean, we'll be around, and we're gonna try to start broadcasting more of the weekend tournaments as those become like the focal point, obviously, and then these majors. So yeah, just shout out everybody.
Yeah, and then question came in from Tyrant. No, excuse me. Yeah, Tyrant. Tyrant King? Can someone still grind out enough to get to Worlds? Yeah, absolutely. You can still grind enough to get to Worlds. So that's only the third major's around 2 months away. I think Worlds probably be about 4 months away, 5 months away, something around there. Yeah, you have plenty of time. There's a weekend tournament every single weekend. Those are $500 events. And yeah, every penny that you earn in the game, that's a pro point. So at the end of the day, we're just taking the aggregate of our best top grinders, and we're just inviting you to our pro major events and our Worlds. So yeah, still plenty of time for you to qualify there. Shout out Humuli, doing a lot to shine a light on this community.
Yeah.
And thank you all very much for being with us. I'm Manifestable, your host, joined as always with the Lord himself. And we couldn't have been more excited to bring you this coverage this weekend. Stay tuned for more events, more pro tournaments, more major coverage as we move down the line. We'll catch you all at the next one.